Hi guys, my name is Aimee Cho. I'm a golf professional. On my website's Ask Aimee section, a golfer asked, what is the difference between a correct weight shift versus the sway? This is a very subtle difference, so it can be very confusing. So let's talk about that today. The proper weight shift during a golf swing looks kind of like this. You start with the weight 50% in each legs. So it's 50-50, and then you take it back. You try to maintain that 50-50 as much as possible because we're trying to rotate centered, right? But because of the rotation, now you're putting pressure into the heel of the back foot, and you're going to feel like it's more 70-30, which is correct. And then in the downswing, from impact onwards, you want to have about 90-10 or 100-0 and finish straight up and down like this. This is the correct way. When I start talking about the weight shift, I usually talk about the balance zone. So when you set up outside your feet, like yay wide, and just a little bit of room in front and behind your hips. So a circle about twice as big as your hips is what I call the balance zone. So ideally, during the swing, you want your hips to stay within this balance zone, but if you go outside of it is what we call sway. The most common backswing sway faults we see looks like this. So some people try to shift your weight in the backswing and end up with about 100-0. You can see that the hip has moved outside the balance zone and there's too much pressure in the back foot. When your hip's sticking out like this, now you're going to have a hard time going back to the golf ball. So what happens? Most likely you're going to yank your arms to pull your body back, or if you're in this position, a lot of the times you lose timing to start down and your arms start the downswing, which we don't want. It causes fat, thin, slice, hook, miss shots. And now for the downswing sway, a lot of people know that we have to shift our weight through, but we may not know exactly how to, but we try. And then end up sticking the hip out this way. Now the hip has moved way outside the balance zone, and your hip and your knee joints are going to have a lot of pressure. Your spine angle has tilted way back. There's a lot of pressure in your shoulders, a lot of pressure in your back foot, about 20-30% left in there. When you do this now, you're prone to injuries in your joints or your back and your neck because of the spine angle tilting, and also because the spine is tilting, you're going to alter your swing plane and hit it fat, thin, slice, hook. A lot of missed shots with this kind of move. And also, even though we're trying to shift, if you do this now, you have about 70-30 in your feet, so it's not the correct way of getting it over 100-0, right? So today, my goal is to keep you moving within the balance zone and shift your weight perfectly so you can use that body weight as source of power. I'm going to show you a quick practice you can do at home, but before we start, let's test your balance first. When I teach a lot of the right-handed people, there's a pattern that a lot of their left leg balance is weak. So let's get into your setup with your hands on your shoulders. Go ahead and take your left foot off the ground and see how good your balance is. A lot of times, this is very common, wobbling around. The more you try to stand one-legged in your golf setup, the better it'll get very fast. Let's try the other side. Take your right foot off. How good is your balance on your left leg? This is the weaker leg for the right-handed players. So if you have weak one-leg balance, you need to work on it. All you have to do is get into your golf setup and stand in one leg for a couple seconds. It'll get better very, very fast. But if you're actually really good at balancing one leg, then now let's move on. I want you to go ahead and take your setup. We're gonna turn centered, and then we're going to shift our weight all into the left, and we're going to take the right foot off when we rotate through, like this. Kind of like ice skating, right? Like this. So we know back in the 80s style golf swing, we were taught to sway into the right and then shift to the left, but that has very inconsistent contact and impact. So nowadays we tend to turn more centered, coil here, and then move toward the desired target like this, so there's more power and better accuracy. All right, so if you are used to turning centered and finishing on the left leg, let's add the hands. You're gonna go turn, shift, and then the hands. So almost like you're taking your right foot off. It should be 100 to 0. If you're ready, let's go ahead and hit the golf ball. Okay. Center, turn, and then shift into the left. You can clearly see that even though I finished my swing, my hips are still within that balance zone, and you will feel the pressure in your outside left heel, your left thigh, hamstring, and glute. It's going to feel like your leg is posted and there's no pressure in any of your joints. Not like this. This has a lot of joint pain in your hip and knee. If you had trouble swaying, now I'm sure you understand that balance zone and we want to stay within it, and 50-50 in the backswing as much as possible, and then 100 to 0 in the finish. Try that one leg balance drill I showed you, and from now on, I want you to shift that weight and use more power to hit it longer and straighter. I hope you're able to follow along. If you have more questions, please come to my website's Ask Aimee section. Leave your questions and comments there. I'll get back to you guys on those. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video.